You have nothing to be afraid of. You have nothing to be ashamed of. You are a beautiful, beautiful being, every single one of you. And it doesn't matter what you've done. You are loved so completely in this moment. I can't even describe it in words how loved you are. You are plugged into a power that is beyond description.
Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation. If you've ever wanted to discover your true power, potential, and possibility, even in this interesting time, then do we have the You Are Enough show for you. Today I'll be talking with Panache Desai, best-selling author, thought leader, and life catalyst, and the author of a beautiful new book on stepping into your power, You Are Enough. And that's just what I want to talk with him about today, about understanding from a spiritual perspective what's going on and how to step into your true power, especially at a time when we feel more disempowered than ever. So welcome to the show, Panache. Are you ready to shine?
Hi, brother. I'm so excited to be here with you, and my love to everyone that's tuning in from around the world.
Woohoo! And thank you so much for being here. It's early in the show, but I'm already going to give you a big man hug, because why not? With that said, where are you in the world today, and what do you see going on?
I'm in Naples, Florida right now, and in oneness, life is as we are. So I see a planet coming into harmony. I see human beings learning to collaborate and work together. I see the light emerging in people in a more powerful way than I ever have before. And I see us moving toward the finality of this time of ascension, whereby we remember our luminous nature and we allow this planet to achieve its full vibrational potential, where it literally becomes golden. So that's what I'm personally experiencing right now.
Woohoo! All right, we've got like 3 things right there. I will get to your history in a little bit, but we've got to talk all of these because I wanted to talk about whether you felt we're coming into a global awakening. And you said planet coming into harmony. And I love that. The term that I tend to use is coherence. What can you tell me about this?
So we've entered a 10-year window of time within which harmony and balance has to be restored in the hearts of all human beings. In the context of ascension and evolution, we're the only species that's out of harmony. And so right now, when we look at what's happening in context of COVID-19, we're really being simplified. We're really being asked to return to what's important, to prioritize what matters, to begin to focus on connection in a very real sense, and to begin to choose the evolutionary potential of who we are over survival and survival-based tendencies that have been undermining us. And so on a vibrational level, we are being purged of every survival-based energy, everything based in fear, lack, and scarcity. And if you think of it in terms of a hot air balloon, that fear, lack, and scarcity is that ballast that keeps that hot air balloon from taking off. Every human being, in the absence of that fear, lack, and scarcity, once they've evolved beyond that basic animalistic nature of themselves and evolve into the fullness of who they are at the level of their heart, will express their full creative potential, their ingenuity, their innovation, and their ability to create entrepreneurial solutions to what's happening in the world.
So when you see, and I'm going to put this in quotes because I don't believe in, I'm not a good and evil kind of guy. I'm a lower vibration, higher vibration. But when you see quote unquote darkness right now, that's actually just helping bring us more into the light, or what you call our luminous nature.
That darkness is an aspect of us that we just need to hug and embrace, because everything's inside of us. And so this opportunity that we're in right now, the blessing of this time, is that if we're being 100% accountable and responsible for ourselves and for our state of being and for everything that's happening, remembering that everything's a reflection of us, then we're making the most of this window of time. But if we're blaming other people, making it about the government, making it about what's happening on a state or a local level, making it about what somebody is or isn't doing outside of us, then we're missing the gift of this time. And so again, in oneness, life is as we are. So the more we embrace whatever we deem to be low vibrational, or whatever we deem to be the shadow or the parts of us that we've withheld love from, the more we bring them into our hearts, the more we reveal them for what they really are, which is light itself.
So when we go and and usually I steer people away from it, but right now we're as a society moths to a flame. When we go to news, what I call negative, worthless stimulation, and you see somebody, whatever somebody it is, saying the exact opposite of what we want to hear to make us feel secure, the ultimate answer is to grab them in our mind, not throttle them, but instead hug them and love them up with everything that we've got.
Absolutely, because every single person that we see is us. They're reflecting back to us who we are. And as spiritual people, we thrive in uncertainty. So it's up to us to embrace everybody that we see with love and to recognize that we'll never be unified at level of belief, but we can absolutely love every single human being for who they are.
Never unified at level of belief. We have to get out of, Einstein said, we can't solve a problem from the level of energy from which it was created.
That's exactly right. So it's window smashing time, it's mirror smashing time, it's paradigm smashing time, it's belief smashing time, it's box smashing time.
So it's interesting because years ago I did the practice of I love myself. This is a good decade and a half, 2 decades ago. I had just gotten through with grad school, and you'd think I was thinking you are enough. Instead, I did the I love you exercise in front of the mirror, grabbed the shower curtain, and took care of the mirror because I wasn't ready to hear it. But that breaking away of the old is in essence what we need to get to the new, isn't it?
That's exactly right. When a snake sheds its skin, it doesn't go back to look at the skin to marvel at how wonderful it was. It realized that it doesn't fit in it anymore. And so we are metaphorically shedding our skin. We're being asked to leave behind every choice that we've made in separation and fear and return to our hearts and to understand that that place of peace is where our power is.
Thank you. You said something earlier. You said thrive in uncertainty. And what I'm seeing is there are 8 billion souls, spiritual beings having human existences who chose to incarnate at this time for a very, very special reason, a very, very special purpose. If I go back in your childhood, at age 4, you were playing Om in your grandmother's meditation room. We were chosen for this time, for this reason, for this purpose. You were, I were, we all were, weren't we?
Absolutely. And not just those moments of connection that I experienced with my grandmother for the first 5 years of my life, but every piece of trauma, every piece of abuse, every heartbreak, every rejection, every betrayal, every abandonment. I chose all of that as well, because all of that becomes the lens and the vehicle through which we get to be of service to every other human being.
How do you then take that? How do you take it when right now we're going, I've lost my job, I've lost my this, I've lost my that. This is all here to serve me. I chose to be here during this time. You and I both get it. How do we help others? So if they're listening, you're resonating with this, you may already get it as well. How do you help them to see the light, to see the potential in this time?
So what you need to know is that from the moment you were born, you've been conditioned to conform. And basically you're conforming, first of all, to your parents' vibrational makeup. Then beyond that, you're in the school system, and the more docile and compliant you are, the more you're able to excel within that system. Well, basically, the school system was created to create docile and compliant members of the workforce. That's all it was for. And so when you think about it, you're more than a unit of production. You're not a battery. You're not here to just go to school, work a job, retire, and then die. You're here as a unit of divine expression. And so what we have to do is stop making ourselves wrong. There is nothing wrong with you. You don't need to be healed. You don't need to be fixed. You're not broken. Stop comparing yourself to other people. Stop holding your self-image up to everyone else's Photoshop version of their Instagram feed. At some point, we have to start accepting who we are. So here's how it works. Emotions are just energies in motion. All we have to do is accept our emotions as they arise. We have to accept the way that we look. We have to accept the way that we feel. We have to begin to work with our design. There's infinite intelligence that's animating the entire creation right now out into infinity. It made you. Like God wasn't having a bad day when you were made. At some point, you're going to stop fighting against your design and your resistance to being who you are. And in that moment, when you realize that your humanity is the doorway to your divinity, all of a sudden, you'll begin to access all of this power and potential that you didn't even know that you had, that maybe you were projecting onto other people because you didn't feel good enough to own it in yourself.
Love it, love it, love it. And there's a few key things. Humanity is your doorway to your divinity. I've been telling people, drive the car till the wheels fall off and drive it like hell right now. Have fun with this thing. And I look at the messenger, the way things come to us. And the messenger is always a reflection. Right now, we've got a virus, which is reflecting to us where we have been, but it's also incredibly simple. It's 2 to 3 microns, and its only job is simply to replicate. It has no malice. It has no anger towards us. It has nothing but the simplest thing. And if we understand what the messengers are, we can reflect back into ourselves, can't we?
Absolutely. That's why we should respect the virus, but we don't have to be afraid of it. We don't have to be afraid of it. And respecting the virus means follow the basic protocols that you would on a daily basis. Wash your hands, make sure what you bring in from outside stays outside, wipe stuff down. It's just basic protocols. These basic protocols will render you not just immune to the virus itself, but also immune to the fear that's being pervaded and perpetuated around the virus itself.
That's why I have my nice smiley face mask when I go out, because I want to vibrate. I want to help others. I'm not worried about myself getting sick. I have an immune system of an ox. If I get sick, I'll be all right. But I want to help protect others during this time. But most importantly, I feel it's important to protect our vibrational alignment at the highest place that we can. And that is what we get to protect the most.
Absolutely. Because how we feel about ourselves informs our neurology, which in turn informs our biology, which in turn becomes the experience of life and living that we're having. So when we become the custodians of our consciousness and our vibration and frequency, all of a sudden, we begin to be able to walk through life with a semblance of grace and ease and peace while everyone else is lost in panic.
I want to go one more time to the messenger, because I'm drawing making some connections here. You mentioned that the school system is here for us to conform. You were in law school and you were emceeing, quite the combination, I might say. And if I understand right, you were attacked, you were beat up, then there were guns, then there was this, there was that. And I'm looking at the messenger that's coming in, and the messenger was being quite almost violent to say, you can't conform anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I got to a point in my early 20s where I had a conversation with my mother and said, Mum, I'm just living a lie. Like I'm doing university. I'm doing a degree in university that I'm doing just to appease my grandfather. I want to study philosophy. Makes perfect sense now. But, you know, being Indian, unless you're a lawyer or an accountant or an engineer or a doctor, you're basically a failure. And so I conformed. I gave in.
Which is crazy. I've got to pause for a second, because this is one of the most spiritual cultures for thousands and thousands of years, with the longest spiritual written tradition in the history of history.
I know. But the problem is that all of a sudden, we don't value what we innately have in our own culture. So that's the irony of the situation. So I went through lots of different experiences, and of course I was very involved in music at the time, as you shared. Underground music at the time was very dangerous because it was all in underground clubs, after hours clubs, and had an altercation. Was too embarrassed to go home. Went out again, and before I got there, there was actually a shooting. Somebody had been shot, and then all of a sudden there was another altercation. Guns come out. The Metropolitan Police Department surrounds the club with their SWAT team. They won't come in because they don't want any kind of a hostage situation or shootout. So they escort you out one by one. You get videotaped. All of this is happening on television. My parents are watching it at home while we're all being escorted out of this club.
Oh my God.
And I get home and I'm just like, you know what, Panache, like this, it's enough. Like something just tapped me on my shoulder and said, okay, you're done now. And I then had to get back to the spirituality of my childhood. I said to my mother, I need to go away and live like a monk. I need to get back to that feeling that I had in the meditation room. Mm-hmm. So that's exactly what I did. I came back to the US, lived like a monk for 6 months, shaved my head, lived a monastic life, did selfless service, and began to reconnect with the spirituality of my formative years.
It's phenomenal. I'm going to dive back into your story in a minute, but live like a monk. I used to say that the time of living like a monk in the cave high up in the Himalayas is over, that we need to get out in the world. I actually feel I'm wrong now, and that now we get to live like monks, and we get to pump energy back into the field by raising up our vibration while we're in this safe distancing, social distancing, whatever we want to call it. We're all one. We're all a field of informed energy. And the more we pump back into the system in our own individual homes, wherever that may be, our own caves, the more we make a difference for everyone.
That's exactly right. You know, when this first began, I knew that we had to return to calm. And that the more we could return to calm, the more we could deal with the elevation of our personal frequency, and then in turn expand our consciousness. And so literally every morning since this COVID-19 crisis has been going on, we've been just surrounding the planet in this blanket of calm and abundance, just to help people remember and have access to who they really are.
Beautiful, beautiful. So let's go to 2003 briefly. You called out the divine. What in the world happened? And what was that experience like?
So I'm Indian. I was born into a spiritual family. And on the weekends, when you're Indian, you go see monks and sages and gurus. It's just what you do. And then you wait in line for about 2 or 3 hours. It's called darshan. Then they bop you in the head with a peacock feather and feed you some kind of very sugary dessert, which is why most Indians are diabetic. So at the end of one of these darshans, at the end of every darshan, they would say to me, thank you for incarnating. And I was just a kid. I had no idea what they were talking about. And subsequently, this would carry on. And all the while this was happening, I was having these experiences that I couldn't explain. People around me would just come and sit down next to me. All of a sudden, they'd be heavy and burdened. All of this emotional content that was inside of them would begin to kind of vibrate out of them. And they would get up and they would be sparkly. And as a child, that's the only way I could describe it, you know. And so as I got older, I wanted to be normal, and I wanted to stop being weird, really, basically, at all costs. Like I wanted to just be some semblance of normal. And so kind of moved away from it. And then as I began to integrate everything inside of myself, I got to a place where I'm like, okay, if I'm really here to be a messenger and I'm really here to do something, then I have to do it from a place of experience. I'm not just going to look at a mother who's lost her child and say that there's some grace in this or some semblance of perfection in this unless I've experienced it. So 2002, 2003, I'm sitting on this sofa in Venice, California. I'm like, all right, God, if you're real, show me what you are. Because unless you can show me what you are, I'm not going to be this messenger. As soon as I said that, wave after wave,
cover.
yeah, wave after wave of energy started moving through me. And I started shaking out all of this fear, experiencing all of this emotion. And then eventually we just got to a point in that experience where everything became this luminous golden presence. Everything. And the feeling of this expansive field of energy was beyond the word love. It was beyond anything that I can articulate in words. And I knew in that moment that this is who we are, that this is what God is, and that we've got God all wrong. You know, that this is what God is. This is really who we are. And in that moment, my whole life made sense to me. This is what had been flowing through me my whole life. This is what I was connected to. This is why people were becoming sparkly. You know, and this is why now to this day, people transform, because they're in the presence of that truth.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to go back to a few key points here because I think this is so powerful for all of us. First off, I'm going to put normal and weird in quotes. You wanted to be normal instead of being weird. To me, as a species, as spiritual beings having human existence, as part of our human existence, we've just passed mile 20 of a marathon. Now, mile 20 in the marathon is where the knees go, the feet go, the everything go. Your lungs are searing, your quads are searing, and you suddenly become spiritual. Or in essence, start to remember who you are. And so I think we need to call in that weirdness, which is really our true essence now, because as humanity, we have passed mile 20 of the marathon.
That's exactly right. You know, that uniqueness, as I would label it, you know, ignorantly weirdness, is our superpower. And the more that we're in that uniqueness, the more we're expressing divinity uniquely and furthering the evolution of our entire species. And so at no point should you ever apologize for being who you are. You know, it's important to recognize that who you are is enough, and that when you operate from that place of being that unique lens through which divinity is expressing, you are plugged into a power that is beyond description.
Can we all call out God during this time, and what would that look like?
Absolutely. I think everybody should call out God. I think everybody at some point should have that conversation with the divine and be ready for the answer. Because I think what's happened is we've accepted everyone else's version of what God is, instead of developing our own unique personal experience of what that means. So for me now, that experience of divinity translates just as peace. When I'm peaceful, I'm experiencing my enlightened consciousness. When I'm peaceful, I'm being my authentic self. Everything else that I'm feeling and experiencing isn't who I am. I've been conditioned to believe it is, but it's not the truth. So I'm a luminous being who's been conditioned to believe that I'm a physical being, living in a physical reality, when I'm not. Who I am is light, vibration, and frequency more than density and matter. So I think that everybody should absolutely call out God, to find out for yourself what that is for you, to develop your own personal relationship with the divine, and to operate from that place of personal relationship with love in your heart, a smile on your face, and the highest vibration that you can offer the world.
Woohoo! And I think when we call out God right now, it's okay. God can handle it. If we're upset, if we're afraid, if we're scared, if we're, let's go with a technical term here, Panache, pissed off like a mofo at this point, put it all out there.
Yeah, exactly. Surrender your pissosity. Give it up, you know.
Pissosity. That one I haven't heard on the show before.
Exactly. At some point, you have to surrender your inner pissosity. You know what? And just say, listen, here I am, here's the experience that I'm having. The more I lean into this experience, the more I realize that who I really am is a field of awareness, and that my mind and my feelings and my body are activities inside of this field of awareness. The more I can operate as the observer of that pisosity, the more I can be the observer of the fluctuations at the level of the mind, and the more I start to really tap into the truth of who I am.
Thank you, thank you. So you keep on giving references, the most beautiful references to luminosity, to light, to vibration, to field of awareness. What is Samadhi, and who and what is our true self?
Samadhi is our natural state of being. So when we are being who we naturally are, we live in a state of connection that is palpable and felt as presence beyond us. When people come into contact with us, they can experience that shift in energy in their own state of being. So I had a vision when everything first happened, when I had that experience of the divine. And in that vision, I saw individuals like you and I, brother, walking down the street, embodying presence. Literally, people were popping like popcorn and coming into oneness because we were just embodying that presence. So that's the invitation at this time, is to return to who we naturally are, to stop being normal and to start being natural. And in that return to being natural, embody presence completely. Express that through us, through our lives, through every medium that we have, as a reminder to every other human being that this is who they are too.
Thank you, thank you. I can't help but go there. I have no idea if it's appropriate or not, but a decade or more ago, my wife and I wrote Barefoot Running. And we looked at a human foot and what it was supposed to be. And the human foot, if you look at in an office, a doctor's office, a skeleton or an anatomy chart, it shows the big toe pushed in. The big toe was pushed in because of the shoes that the cadaver that they used for the model wore to push his toe in his whole life. That was considered normal, but it's anything but then natural. And what you're saying is we have to get back to our natural state and throw off the teaching of normal and conformity that we've been given.
Absolutely, because the more we try and be normal and the more we try and fit in, the more we suffer. There's a direct correlation between the degree to which we're suffering and the degree to which we're conforming and being normal.
Thank you. Here's one of my favorite quotes from the book. Samadhi is a fundamental realignment of energy that raises the frequency at which you reside. It is the union of the external with the core of your being, which is one with all life. One with all life.
That's exactly right. Science is now describing that state as coherence. But really what it is complete, profound acceptance of everything that is, which is the definition of enlightenment. The more we realize that we're not, living in this adversarial reality, that actually on some level we designed all of this for us to awaken to who we are, and that the more we can just remain peaceful and the more we can remain in a state of acceptance of all that is, the more we begin to uncover the truth, right? And the biggest issue is, brother, is that we've been looking outside of ourselves for this truth, and it isn't outside of us. It's always been inside of us. And so the more we can accept whatever's going on in every moment, the faster we return to oneness, the faster we return to peace, the quicker we experience our samadhi.
So is there an exercise you would give people when we see the derision, the division, the fighting, particularly in this country? It's fascinating if you can step back and snow globe it, meaning observe all angles and go, wow, that really is interesting. How can we go from that state of looking at this all arguments, this tension, and then draw back inward to who we truly are?
So the reason why we're having such extreme viewpoints and polarities kind of modeled out in front of us on TV screens is because we have become that far removed from harmony. So we now need these very extreme examples of our humanity so that we can look in the mirror, embrace them. And the more we can embrace them, the more we can gather them up and hold them in our hearts, the less we have any need for them. So at that point, we're at this point where we now have to look in the mirror, recognize we're only ever looking in the mirror, we're only ever interfacing with aspects of our own humanity, and just hold them and hug them. And the more we can hold them and hug them and be with them and embrace them and accept the fact that they exist inside of us, the more those mirrors begin to smash. And eventually what's left is light. Everything just reveals itself as light.
I love it. So on the hug note, what is grace?
Grace is recognizing that you are more than a limited identity, that you are more than a personality, that you have access to something beyond who you are. So grace is that moment where that power intersects with your life. It's that moment where that higher power, that love, that light, that presence, whatever name you want to use, is able to intersect your life. And typically that happens in crisis, because we realize the limitations of our egoic existence in the midst of a crisis. And typically we have no choice but to surrender. So what I would say to people is, don't wait for a crisis. Just live in a perpetual state of surrender. Live in a perpetual state of vulnerability and openness, and recognize that, again, expressing who you are with vulnerability and openness allows grace to perpetually come flooding into your life.
Tell us more about surrender. And surrender does not mean resignation, does it?
Surrender means letting go of the outcome and the goal. So let's be honest with each other. It's just you and I speaking right now. Everybody had a vision board. Everybody had goals for this year. Everybody had stuff they wanted to manifest. Everybody wanted to 10x their reality in one area or more. And here we go. Boom. COVID-19, coronavirus. How's your vision board now? Right? And so what are we being shown? We're being shown that there's a perfection to the unfolding of life. We're being shown that in the absence of control, there's an organizing principle that is doing just fine in making life unfold. So what does that actually mean? Well, ancient wisdom traditions point to the fact that life is spontaneously and automatically unfolding in every moment, that we can actually allow life to be the way that it is. So here's how it breaks down. If you had an attachment to that vision board or that list of goals or wanting to 10x your life in every area, then you are suffering right now, right? But if you could let go of the attachment and you could let go of the outcome and you could let go of anything that you had invested at the level of your identity in accomplishing those things and just allow them to be just signposts, but not things that determine your value and your worth, then you are not suffering. And that's the difference. By all means, have things that you wish to move toward, but be open to being moved in another direction entirely.
Thank you. And when we spoke off air beforehand, I think I said something kind of tongue-in-cheek, but it went right along with what we're saying, and I'm very particular about my words. I said, congratulations on being liberated from your book tour.
Yes, exactly. I was on a book tour. The book became a national bestseller, and then boom, coronavirus. And I have to tell you that I have been so deeply moved by the way in which people have been coming together every day, the way in which people have been supporting each other, the way in which people have been loving each other, the way in which people have been advocating on behalf of calm and peace during this time. It just warms my heart, this was, and it's interesting because this is the book tour that I was meant to have, right? The book tour that I couldn't even have envisioned, and really what it is just a service tour and the love tour. That's all it is.
And to me, this is it. This is the most special time. And we can say, no. In the written history, even going back into the Vedas, we have never had this of an entire planet-wide event and a planet-wide, okay, maybe there was Noah, but only Noah and his wife, if that was true, came through this thing. This is a true global-wide event, which to me is the opportunity to come together as a one and is truly, irregardless of the suffering, and I'm not making light of that. I'm not making light of the suffering, the grief, anything that's going on. This is a phenomenal time.
Yes, and both things are occurring simultaneously. There's a part of us that understands that everything's unfolding perfectly, and it's a part of a divine plan. And at the same time, we're embracing people, we're supporting people, we're loving people and going through these changes. We're meeting them in their humanity, right? And again, having this awareness of who we are allows us to do both. It allows us to be in that place of recognizing the perfection of what's unfolding, as well as meeting a family who's in the midst of transitioning their loved one, right? The only difference with us as a community is that transitioning of that loved one is not going to be in vain. We're going to commit even more to shining brighter. We're going to commit even more to being more abundant, to being more luminous, to spreading more love in the world. With every person that transitions and that's made that choice to transition at that time, we're going to make the choice to live, and to live not just for ourselves, but for every single one of them that won't have that opportunity today.
Thank you. And going along the lines of even more, what I hear banging into my head right now is it's all energy. All of the emotions, energy and motion that is flowing around with the suffering, with the grief, with the passing on, with the conflict, with the paradox, is all energy to help us make that energetic state change to go up to that higher room, to that higher level.
That's exactly right. And in that state and flow of energy, the more we allow it to be that way without interacting or engaging in any mental process, and we stay in a state of flow and harmony, the more everything moves through us, the more everything begins to flow through us. And at that point, we're able to maintain this state of samadhi and connection, in every waking moment of life and living.
Thank you. So how do we let go? We're talking about letting go of control. We're talking about letting go of or surrendering. How do we stop the mind which is trying to control us and hold on for dear life at this time?
So we don't need to control the mind. We just need to give it its proper place, which is that it's just happening, right? So the mind's function is to quantify, to analyze, to interpret, and in some way also support you in holding on to a space of safety inside of yourself, right? Certainty, familiarity. And so basically, don't do anything with your mind. Just observe it. Just love it. Be grateful for it. Just say thank you to it. Don't do anything with the mind. There's nothing that needs to happen at the level of the mind. I think that what's happened is we've given too much importance in the Western world to the mind. Descartes said, "I think, therefore I am," which is probably the worst phrase ever spoken into existence. It's more like "I am, therefore I think." So we put the mind before awareness. We put the mind before being. And so what we have to do is restore being to its rightful place, which is at the foundation of everything. So you have a mind, you're not your mind. You have thoughts, you're not your thoughts. You have beliefs, you're not your beliefs. There's not a single thought and belief that belongs to you. Not one. You weren't born with a thought, you weren't born with a belief. All of these things were conditioned into you. So allow them to wash through you, allow them to pass through you. Just observe them, say thank you to them, and let them roll on by.
Thank you. We're going to go with the antidote to Descartes here, which is St. Francis quote that you had in the book. I love it as well. "We are all in mourning for the experience of our essence we knew and now miss. Light is the cure. All else is placebo."
That is exactly right. And this is why oneness and illumination is the only answer to what's going on right now. There is no other solution. Oneness and illumination, and the remembrance of the oneness and the illumination that lives inside of us is the answer to every form of human suffering that we're experiencing right now. Not just on an individual level, on a community level, on a global level, and also it's what we need in order to restore the planet to harmony and balance as well.
Thank you. You say in the book, you experience repetitive negative patterns in your life because you have not dealt with the unresolved parts of yourself. I'm seeing that humanity-wide, we have not dealt with the unresolved parts of ourselves. It's all coming up from under the carpet. How do we deal with the unresolved pieces that are coming back up?
So this is something that as spiritual people, we really have to pay attention to, because as spiritual people, we've gone through like a further level of compartmentalization as to what's okay and what's appropriate and what isn't. And so what you have to understand is that oneness is holding that light and that darkness equally in your heart, right? Whatever the perception of the darkness is, we're going to hold it equally with the light in our hearts. And eventually what happens is it all merges, it all blends. That which we deem to be unlovable or deem to be shameful about us is actually that which we have to embrace, right? So again, it's not what we think it is. When we look at the word guru itself, actually, it's transforming darkness into light. Right. So in that way, when we use that model, right, and we use that analogy, we're able to then transform that darkness through giving it our attention and our awareness, engage in vibrational transformation, liberate the light, and facilitate the expansion of who we are.
I love it. You've got me thinking of my wife. I call her the Pookie. And the Pookie has had habits over the last decade or more that we've been getting together that drive me completely insane between the two of us. But I've realized at some point it switched. That which drives me the most insane is actually that which I love and find the most endearing.
Because in the absence of the habit, there would be no Pookie, and in the absence of Pookie, there would be no love and connection for you. So what we have to do is also stop compartmentalizing people, right, into things that we love and don't love. It's only ever our own resistance. So in that situation, it's the embracing of the resistance of that allows us to love even more. We all have people. Everybody has things that they do that upset people and trigger people. But this is where we're being given the opportunity. It's like, okay, cool. Wait a minute. In the absence of that behavior, I wouldn't have the opportunity of this love that I have in my life. So am I going to highlight the behavior or am I going to highlight the love? Which one? We have to make a choice.
And that sounds like the biggest choice we get to make. You flip on the news, somebody calls you, there's social media, whatever. We get to choose. Where are we going to put our attention, our awareness, our energy, our light during this time?
I've been listening to a lot of Bob Marley and a lot of the Beatles right now. And
yes.
And Bon Iver and also Ayla Nero. And the reason why is because I firmly believe that we need to curate our lives at the level of feeling. So what we don't realize is that if we don't do that, all of a sudden we're not going to get to that feeling point that we so want. So I've always let people know to build their lives on a platform of peace, because if you make choices that contribute to that peace, guess what? At the end of your day, you'll feel peaceful, right? So cultivate the feeling, literally, even down to the music that you listen to, right? Watch the news, by all means, be informed, but don't be consumed by the news. Come and watch you instead. I'd rather hang out with you and watch this, right? It's so much better. It feels
and
so
vice
much better.
versa, my brother. And
exactly.
I've been going to Beatles, and after Beatles was Lennon, and then I've been lately. It seems like instead of 24 hours, it's 24 days of Pharrell Williams and Happy each morning.
Yeah, good. Yeah. See, and this is how we influence ourselves. This is how we influence ourselves at the level of feeling. This is how we influence our neurology. It's how we influence our biology. It's how we shift our reality by getting in tune with how we want to feel, and then consuming or listening to or vibrating at the resonances that are in harmony with that outcome.
Thank you. You said it at the beginning, but I got the exact quote here, and it's exactly what you're describing right now, so I have to go back there. Be a person who lives from the inside out rather than the outside in.
It's exactly right. We're reversing the polarity of our experience. And the magic to this is, here's what happens. The less you care about what other people think about you, and the more you relax into love that's present inside of you, the more you begin to emanate that out. You completely reverse the polarity of your experience. So you're able then to imprint everything and everyone in your life with that love that you are, with that feeling that you are, with that peace and that joy that you are, just like you do. You know, like your energy is beautiful. So this is a living example of how that happens.
Thank you, Panache. It goes both ways, and I'm so glad of what you just said. Reverse the polarity, and I want to come to the name of your book here. You Are Enough. I have never seen a time at which people feel, and this is important. I think that this is actually a gift, that people feel they are, how do I put it? What's the reverse of enough? They feel completely not enough during this time, but there is an energy to it. It's an alchemy. It's a time that we can shift that energy and flip it on its head. It's almost Tai Chiing it around, where we've been looking for outer accolades, outer rewards, awards, people telling us why we are good enough. But if we can go in on the inside of this time and not be looking for outer, what's the word for it? For people to say how good we are during this time. My words are escaping me. We shift everything. And from that shifting, we are no longer afraid. We are no longer shackled by society or by anybody saying, you are this, you are that, you are not enough.
That's exactly right, brother. Amen. Because the pandemic that we were dealing with before this global pandemic was the pandemic of not enoughness. You know, I've been working with people now for over 20 years, and the root cause of every addiction, every moment of not feeling like you're lovable, not feeling like in some way like you're worthy, you know, every moment of disappointment, every failed relationship, every situation that we've been going through stems from this feeling of not feeling like we're enough. And so literally, I mean, it was at a pandemic level before COVID-19. Yeah. We now have to deal with it because, again, everything in our lives is responding to that level of feeling. It doesn't matter what you amass and what you accumulate. You know, you and I have met people that have succeeded at the highest levels in their lives. And the one thing that we can say about them is that either they're at peace in the midst of it, but more often than not, they're not, because they did it to prove something about themselves. They did it from a place of deficiency, right? They did it from a place of pain or fear. And so, again, where we operate from is who we get to be. It's how we get to live. It's what we get to express. And so this fundamental shift is everything right now.
And so we can walk around. For some reason, I have a vision of just opening up the fridge. We can be in alignment in the kitchen. We can be alignment at the fridge. Every thought that comes up, we can go to these higher frequencies. We can remember our luminosity and shift in that moment. And that moment of opening the fridge, going to the light, can be the most profound experience in the world.
That's exactly right. And opening the fridge is accepting who you are, It's bringing yourself the acceptance and belonging from inside of you that you've been turning yourself inside out from outside of you. Yeah.
Thank you. So let's talk briefly about presence, because that's where we're going with this, not being affected. If anything, if there's an affect from the outer world, it's to draw us inside right now.
The power comes from being still and welcoming what there is inside of us, because the body's the storehouse of the unconscious. Okay, so literally everything that we have to feel is inside of us. We don't have to go looking for it. It's always right there. It's just that we won't be still enough to welcome it. And the reason why we won't is because we're afraid of it. And what I have to say to you is that you have nothing to be afraid of. You have nothing to be ashamed of. You are a beautiful, beautiful being, every single one of you. And it doesn't matter what you've done. You are loved so completely in this moment. I can't even describe it in words how loved you are. And so when you begin to sit still, you'll experience discomfort, but the discomfort that you feel will be the discomfort of egoic existence. It's the discomfort of that doesn't serve you anyway. So sometimes we have to be a little bit uncomfortable in order to evolve beyond what's familiar, to embrace a greater possibility and truth of who we are.
Thank you. It's interesting. We are, as a society, I think it's actually almost as a planet at this point, we are addicted to our doingness. And we've had Amit Goswami on the show. I'm sure you know him. Do. We need to go from that doing state into beingness. And this time where we're kind of stuck, COVID-19 at home, is the gift of being able to be in that stillness, even if it's scary, but then we can snow globe what's scary and actually step back from it and look at it. But what a gift to have the opportunity. The world has never been this still on a Richter scale. They're seeing that the vibration on the planet from the trucks and everything has gone down.
Yeah, we're finally able to feel the frequency of Mother Earth, like literally by putting our feet in the earth and by going to the beach and putting our feet in the ocean. It's like we're finally able to connect to the vibration of our mother, this planet. And we're also realizing that who we are as custodians. This sense of ownership is something that has to be challenged. Nothing really belongs to us. You can't take anything with you. Just ask the Egyptians. They tried. They couldn't take anything with them. And so here we are at this point. So what are we going to do with our lives? Are we going to continue to perpetuate the job that we can't stand just to get a check that, we hate ourselves for because, we're compromising who we are in order to have something? Are we going to continue to be in the relationship that's unfulfilling? Are we going to continue to perpetuate lifestyle choices that are undermining our well-being? Or are we going to use this time of stillness, this pause, this reset, this time out to really emerge from this stronger, to come out of this brighter, to make choices that are aligned consciously with our hearts, that further who we are, that further life, that further the momentum of who we've come here to be. By virtue of the fact that you're here with us, I would say that you're probably in the latter category. You're using this time to come out of this stronger, brighter, healthier, to make choices that are conscious, to come back to being natural, to reclaim your Samadhi.
I love it, and I think we can burn these visions into our head. I have a vision coming to me from a book tour over a decade ago of being on the beach in Naples, wading into the water about waist deep. The waves were like 2 inches high. It was like flat. There are dolphins dancing in the background at sunset. That is our true nature. That is the gift of stillness that we can return to.
That is exactly right. That's the beauty, you see. And the saddest thing of all is that when we don't feel like we're good enough, we doubt our value and our worth. We doubt our beauty. We doubt our magnificence. And this is why we have to do this work. This is why we have to make this adjustment internally so that we can recognize that that beauty, that image that you just gave us of that beautiful picture is who we are. That is a reflection of who we are. It is not separate from us. It is the truth of us.
Thank you. Thank you. Would you mind sharing with us the 5 commitments? And I can walk you through these. So commitment number 1, to knowing our essential self.
So everything for me begins with a commitment. I've discovered in life that we can only ever access what we're committed to. Yeah. And then when we're committed to something, we'll begin to seek the evidence of that in our external material manifest world. And so when we commit to knowing our essential self, it's that moment of calling out God and saying, all right, God, if you exist, show me, right? And it's that same thing. So in that same way, it's like, okay, show me who I am, show me who I really am. I want to experience who I really am. And that essential self translates as a feeling of peace inside of you. Who you really are is peace. And so get to know yourself as that peace, get to know yourself as that calm. So that's the first commitment. The second commitment is to a new past, present, and future. And this is where it gets radical. Right now, you are living out every potentiality of who you are. The only problem is that most of you, as you're watching this, are relating to you through a memory of who you are. You're not actually related to yourself as the present moment version of you. So what do we have to do? We have to go back to every perceived moment in our lives where we felt like we made a mistake, where we felt like we did something wrong, and we have to meet those aspects of us with compassion and with empathy and love. We have to hug them and hold them and embrace them. And the more we can hug them and hold them and embrace them, the more we're freed of the memory of who we are, and the more we're reacquainted with the truth of who we are, the reality of who we are. The third commitment is commit to inner peace. It's my favorite. Inner peace is everything. It's the only commodity in the world that's priceless. Everything else comes and goes. Everything else fluctuates, but peace exists at a premium. So remember that who you are is peace. Come back to peace. Live a life around that peace. Engage in actions that perpetuate that peace. Curate your playlist of life, your entire life list around the feeling of peace. Down from what you wear, to everything that you consume, to what you watch, to everything. And then watch what happens. Exactly. And then commitment number 4, I love that. And then commitment number 4 is commit to fulfillment. And the reason why this is important is because I've met so many people in the world who've accomplished everything, but yet have no fulfillment. They have no sense of fulfillment inside of them. So we have to commit to fulfillment. Find a sense of appreciation for everything now. Live from a state of gratitude for everything now. Be grateful for the blessings that you have now, and you'll be blessed with more. And then the last one, which is probably like our favorite, is commit to unlimited possibilities, right? You're like my unlimited possibilities, brother. So the more we commit to unlimited possibilities, guess what? The more life shows you its unlimited nature. The more you experience these synchronicities, the more people come together, the more people wake up, the more people evolve. Why? Because life is as you are. And so those are the 5 commitments.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you, my brother. Life is as you are, not as others show you that life is. That is not real, is it?
No, not at all. That's the illusion. Don't believe it for 1 second. Don't believe what you're being told at all. Come back to the peace inside of you. Empower the peace inside of you and recognize that peace is the infinite power and potential of God.
Thank you, Panache. We are both on a mission right now. I have been on the mic every single, technical term, flipping day since this started, and I'm not stopping. What's your mission during this time?
So for me, it's just to be of service. When I was in the ashram actually in 2001, and I was there when September the 11th happened, and we had the terror attacks in Manhattan. And so immediately, I mean, it was just completely surreal. We were doing selfless service, and then all of a sudden we had this news that there was a terrorist attack happening in Manhattan. And we turned on the news. We were watching these planes crashing into the Twin Towers at that point, and we immediately went into service. And so for me, this is always an opportunity to be of service. You know, my life really isn't about me anymore. And it hasn't been about me since I had that experience in 2002, 2003. So the reason why you and I are on the mic every day and we're loving people every day, and the reason why we're helping people through this time is because that's who we are. You know, we realize the greater blessing of what our life is about. And we also realize that in serving others, we're serving the greater potential and truth of what we stand for, which is the awakening of all. And so every day, doing these global meditations, doing an 11 a.m. Vibrational attunement session with people to help them with their energy, semi-private sessions. I mean, just in every way that I can be available in every moment, just being of service.
Thank you for that. Not just thank you for the answer, but thank you for doing that, for being here for all of us. I see us truly as dominoes and as everybody who is incarnated in this time. If we come together, even if we get a fractional number of people who come together at the same time with the same goal, with the same energy, it's all energy, it's all light, we will have a critical mass, and what appeared to be going to the dark is absolutely going to shift to that light.
Yes, because what we'll see is that there was never any darkness in the first place. The darkness is what we were conditioned to believe was the opposite of our nature, right? So all of that stuff has been superimposed over the light that you are. So yes, you're exactly right. If we can build the critical mass and momentum of remembering who we are, the world will transform in front of our eyes.
Few more questions, then we'll dive into a meditation. What is, particularly at this time, what does total acceptance mean to you?
It just means absolute peace. If I'm completely accepting everything, I'm completely at peace. There's no dissonant energy at all. It's just complete harmony and resonance or coherence.
And what does trust mean to you right now?
Recognizing that I am on a journey that I myself have created for myself to experience. And that journey is only ever going to lead me into more of who I am.
So important for people to hear right now. That journey will only lead me further into who I truly am. In other words, this is all here. I call it a cosmic setup. This is all here to serve us, isn't it?
It's all here as us.
Even better said. I love you, Panache. I love you. Any last words of wisdom you want to share with people before we dive into a meditation?
I just love you all so much. I'm just so grateful for all of you. Just so honored to be here with you all. And thank you for just taking the time out of whatever you're going through to listen to these words, to connect with us, to be reminded who you are. And I just want everyone to know who's listening to this, when I see you in person, I'm able to hug you again. It's going to be really uncomfortable. I'm going to hug you for longer than it's appropriate. I'm probably going to cry a little bit on your shoulder. So I'm just warning everybody right now that when I am able to see you again, when social distancing is over, I am going to hug you and I'm going to hold on.
Woohoo! I have no idea on the mic lately, Panache, whether I'm going to laugh or I'm going to cry, because it's all just energy at this point. We needed that, Panache. We needed that.
Yes.
This has been so beautiful, my brother. Would you mind leading us in anything you feel called to for a meditation?
Absolutely. Let's do it. So just close your eyes and just open your palms.
All right. And I'm gonna let everybody know, unless you're driving down the road, which you're probably not with COVID-19, but if you were.
If you're driving down the road and listening to this, you should probably pull over right now. So just take some breaths and just relax the body and just open your palms. If you're new to meditation, don't worry. If you're a seasoned meditator, don't worry. Just all I want you to do is just rest in the awareness of your breath. To just observe each inhalation and exhalation. Resting in the awareness of our breath transforms our life into a living meditation. With your palms open, just feeling the presence, the light in your palms. Feeling the presence and the energy in the soles of your feet, crown of your head, and in your heart, your beautiful heart. And with each inhalation and exhalation, just becoming calmer, becoming softer, becoming more and more peaceful. When I experienced the divine, I experienced an infinite ocean of energy with no beginning and no end. This presence was so brilliantly golden, it appeared almost as a white light. See yourself now surrounded by this beautiful white light, completely enveloping you, all around you. This vibration of pure potential, of the purest love you've ever felt. We're going to invite this energy into our toes, or acknowledge the presence of this energy in our toes. And same in our feet. Same in our ankles. Just acknowledging the presence of this energy in our calves and shins, in our knees, in our thighs, in our pelvis, in our stomach and lower back, our solar plexus where the stomach and the ribcage meet, the mid-back, and then all the way up into the chest, the heart, the lungs, and all the way up the upper back to the shoulders. Down the upper arms, biceps and triceps, elbows, forearms, hands, fingers and thumbs, filled with light, filled with the presence of God. Moving on up now into the neck, into the throat, into the jaw, gums, teeth, tongue, lips, nose, eyes, ears, forehead, crown of the head, all of the hair on your head. Everything filled with this divine presence. Infinite energy inside, infinite energy outside. Resting in the truth. Resting in your Samadhi. Resting in the knowing that who you are is God. You are the infinite, experiencing itself as a drop. That drop is the infinite itself. With each breath anchoring this feeling in deeper and deeper and deeper. With each breath becoming lighter and lighter and lighter. Elevating your vibrational field and resonance to the resonance of divine love, to presence. And beginning to emanate that out now from your body, filling your entire vibrational field, your energy body, with this presence. Stillness, calm, peace, the truth of who you are. Just resting here, receiving, allowing, embracing, accepting. From this place of connection, you may now just give your thanks, your appreciation, your gratitude for the blessing that is your life, for everything that you have, for everyone that you love, for everything that you've gone through, for everything that you're going through, because everything has served the purpose of leading you home, back to the light that you are, back to the love that you are, back to the divine being that you have always been. You are enough. You are enough. You are enough. You can take some breaths and very gently and very slowly begin to bring your awareness now back to your body, maintaining this connection, maintaining this awareness. Infinite light inside, infinite light outside. And when you're ready, you may open your eyes and just begin to notice what's different. Begin to notice how you feel. Begin to notice who you are. Make the commitment to live from this place. Make the commitment to make your choices and decisions from this place. And you will live a life that will defy the mind, that will be blessed in all ways, and that will be supported in every way, because you will have committed to knowing your essential self and living as your essential self from this moment henceforth. And so it is.
Woohoo! This has been beautiful. This has been phenomenal.
I love you so much. Thank you.
Both ways. It so goes ways both. Where can people go to find your beautiful book, to find your daily work, and to find out more?
The best place to go to right now is the website, which is panachedesai.com. You can access the Call to Calm daily meditations there, 9 a.m. Eastern every day, the 11 a.m. calls if you need any help with your vibration at this time, getting out of survival-based energies, come to that. And then semi-private sessions where I guide people more individually through whatever they're going through. And also there's a link to the book and everything else there. But I'm just honored to meet you, to hold you, to love you, to support you, and to guide you into who I know you to be.
So for everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler saying, be well, have fun, get You Are Enough, and begin discovering your true, authentic power, potential, and possibility today. And shine bright. Woohoo! Crack. Out of the park, my brother.
Thank you, my friend. I just love you so much. Thank you. Thanks for just a beautiful, beautiful time.
It so goes both ways, and for the work you're doing, and for how, man, if today's show was simply, and I'll put simply in quotes, just a transmission of energy, of love, of light, and nobody even comprehended on a conscious level a single word, this show would be so worth it. If you like this video, then you're a light worker, you're a light warrior, and we need your love and light. We need to crank it up to the max. That's why we're offering boot camps. You can check them out down below. Monday through Friday events, 1 hour a day, almost free, to help you crank your light up to the max, get you in the most positive place possible, boost your immune system to the max, and help you to help the world to shine bright. We're also offering YouTube live events every Saturday and Sunday during this time to help you overcome fear, overcome worry, overcome stress, and again, boost up your immune system. These tapping events, these boot camps, all involve group meditations where we come together, set group intention, help you help yourself, help your family, and help the entire world. You're a light worker. Your time is now, so come join us. Click below for these extra special events. I just had such a beautiful interview with Panache Desai. I am without words. I'm tripping over my tongue. I don't even know what to say. No superlatives, no words are strong enough for how I just feel for Panache and for what I just experienced. I hope you're feeling the same way as well. To check out more incredibly important, inspiring interviews during this time, click here, subscribe below, click on that bell icon to be notified of upcoming YouTube lives, premieres, and much more. Of course, join us for our boot camps. The next one's coming up like now, so you can click on the link below to find out about that. And if you can't afford to join, click on that link. There is a scholarship page where you can fill that out, and we will get you in for free. We don't want to leave anybody behind during this time, and so many kind people have donated to help you come on board if you can't afford to. Let us shift the planet together. Let us go to the higher room. Let us reach to the highest vibration possible. This is your time. This is your chance. You were made for this time. You were born for this time, and it is time to shine your light brighter than ever before. Love you guys so, so much. Shine bright. Woohoo! Love you guys.